good. We're all here. Can you guys hear me? I got echo in Jimmy's computer. Good. Martin, can you hear us? Len?
Yeah, got you.
Yeah, I could hear you. I'll be there in a few minutes, Tom.
All right. Abby, you good?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, we'll call today's meeting to order. Jim, will you do roll call, please?
Tom McDonald,
Here.
Len Titi, Jennifer Finley, here, Jim Molitaire,
Here.
Carol Langford, Terry Pitts, Bing Matt, he's on PTO still, Ellie Bundy, present, Martin Charlo,
Present.
Mike Dawson,
I'm here.
James Still Senior.
Thank you, Jen. I'll start our day off with a prayer and see. Jennifer, would you mind leading us?
Today, Lord, I ask that that the tribal members among us who don't have heat find a way to heat their homes today, and that family members who've recently lost loved ones, I ask that they may be comforted in their time of sadness. And I ask for strength for all of us on Tribal Council and all the employees who work for the CSKT to take care of ourselves and the strength to do our best work for our people. And I ask that we all may be protected and safe on these roads. Thank you. Amen.
One left, Jennifer. All right, let's first order of business would be the minutes from December 15th for your review.
Abby, can you note that I was at the Rocky Mountain Tribal Leaders meeting in Billings? Righty. I gotta abstain from this one.
You weren't here?
No,
I was here for most of it. Any other changes? Motion by Mike to approve the December 15th Tribal Council minutes with corrections, additions. Second by Jimmy. Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, show of hands. Unanimous? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Len's abstaining, he wasn't at the meeting. All right, we have our agenda. I want to put first on the first topic is the weather on Thursday. So I want to add that as a point for us. Is there any walk-ins? No walk-ins? Any other changes to the agenda, additions? Mike?
I do have a 10 o'clock with the buy-up, so okay, I think it's only an hour.
Sounds good. Terry? Good. Alrighty, any other?
Yeah.
Carol? Len? Any other additions to the agenda? Seeing none, I would entertain motion to approve today's agenda with changes, additions. Motion by Ellie. Second by Mike. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous. Okay, so first up let me go ahead and hit mine since I have control of the mic. The weather forecast is pretty bad for rolling in Wednesday evening, early morning, Thursday. The prediction is up to 30 below zero without the wind chill. So that means the workday on Thursday would suffer, would never get above zero on the work forecast right now. And the problem with a lot of folks coming to work on Thursday would be just simply starting their car and potential of frozen pipes at their house. But I don't know what the wind is going to be, and I don't know what the wind chill factor would be on Thursday. But the forecast is pretty bleak. So with that in mind, they've certainly been advancing this notice for quite some time about this cold front coming down and moving from the east towards the west, which is rather unique. So the question would be if council wanted to entertain a snow day for Thursday or not, or because the problem is when it's that cold in the morning, it's difficult to just say it's not the road conditions. This is temperature related. So don't come to work until 10. It could be a late start. It could be something of that nature. But just wanted to throw that out for y'all to consider if you want to do anything special on Thursday. If there wasn't going to be any work on Thursday for an emergency closure, I'd prefer to call it now so people can plan better and the customer knows it ahead of time. But it's forecast is not good. Ellie supports a snow day for Thursday. Tim or Terry, Jimmy, Mike. Okay. Martin? Okay. Greg, got any problems with that? It's the highest ranking, full-time administrative person in the room, so. It's a Thursday issue. Yep. Because it's supposed to actually warm up to the lower 30s on Christmas Day. Yeah. Yeah. Montana. Yeah. Okay. I would entertain a motion to, so moved by Jennifer to declare Thursday a snow day due to the predicted historic low temperatures on Wednesday night through Thursday evening. Second by Ellie. Any further discussion? Seeing none? We could modify it, if people want to modify their work habits, that would be fine. I don't have a problem with that. If they're want to try to stay open or they need there's some customer needs there. That's certainly an issue. Yeah. So modify the motion to, I don't know if we can do that. To allow departments the flexibility for special consideration to stay open. Yeah. Which would be primarily tribal health. Yeah. The warming shelters, of course, law and order, all the emergency services. Okay, is that clear as mud, Abby and Jen, and Greg? Okay, all those in favor? Unanimous? Okay, who's up first? Terry?
Yeah, I got a call from Dolores Adams. She is going to be 83, she said, and she stopped the plow truck and asked him if he could just plow her driveway. And he said, no, he can't do that. He told her to get a hold of housing. And so anyway, she's in a kind of a dire need situation. And I was maybe going to call Jimmy too. I don't know if she got a hold of and Len. So anyway, if there's some way we can give her some assistance, I was wanting to see what council thought.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, yes, Dolores also reached out to me. And so I did contact Patty and asked her about who the plow contractor was and if we could get her plowed out. And I did not hear back from Patty on what happened. So obviously she didn't get plowed out.
Chair. Yeah, go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. She also called me, and I think she pulled the snow out herself with a rake and get her car out. I mean, that's a bit too much work for people. I think if the plow truck's there and it's an elder situation, they should be able to push that snow out for them. It's not a very long driveway. It's just steep, and they have to have it clean to get their car out. You know, all those on that downside of that area, they all got steep driveways, and the majority of them are elderly. I mean, they should be able to just swing in there and push it out so they can get their cars out. It's hard to see somebody like Dolores out there with a rake trying to pull the stuff out of her driveway. Anyway, that was the issue I had too.
So the calls into Patty Kibler's shop.
Yeah.
Carol?
Yeah, I was gonna say, if we know of those elders up there, Jimmy, why don't we get with Patricia Hibbler and tell her to tell the snow plows or have the snow plowers come in here so we can tell them that, you know, if you see something like that, just take care of it.
don't hesitate. I mean, it's common sense tells me we've lost an elder before shoveling snow. I don't know if you guys all remember that, but we don't need that to happen again. That was totally embarrassing and awful, awful thing to have happen.
Oh, and Chair, if I may,
Yeah, go ahead.
any of those, up there in Everett, there hasn't been, I don't know who the contractors are for the, other than housing, but, there hasn't been any plowing up there all week. And roads off the highway are getting, there's a lot, I don't know if there's 5 inches of snow, but it's getting real soft where people are sliding all over in it. And so they do need to plow them roads, and so I don't know who to contact even. I don't even know who the contractor is.
All right, we'll, can I get a hold of her? Okay, we'll make sure we have attention to that by the end of the day. We'll make sure we have a contact with that. Gary?
Yeah, and I had a second issue. Dale Nyman up at Camas Prairie said they had 400 head of elk in their haystack. And he said it's really destroying a lot of hay. And wanted to know if there's anything that we could do. He said he's called a lot of tribal members or locally there to come shoot, but I know Dana Huoncorn said that there was they have a depredation hunters list. I wondered if she could be contacted and could call him, and they could let the hunters know or let Dana know that when they come in there, because he said the tribe's elk, and he said somebody's going to have to help us out somehow. He said he'd be willing if we could come up with some material for fencing, the high fences. They would be willing to put it in, but he said they just financially, this is going to really be an impact. And so I told him I would bring it up and we could please contact. I thought, if several of those hunters could go over there and when those elk are standing there in the haystack and just start shooting those cows, and then they could have that for the food sovereignty issue. But it might take some coordination with a locker plant to be able to transfer them to there. But definitely that's because I know when she came in here, she said our office has generated a tribal member depredation hunter list over the years, and with which we would share interested private landowners information with tribal members from the list in hopes that the members would aid in reducing pressure. So I told him I'd bring it, and if we could maybe get a hold of Dana and see if she could, I've got his phone number too, it's in the phone book, so, but could at least address it. And
What was the name again?
Dale, D-A-L-E, Nyman, N-E-I-M-A-N. His phone number is 741-3400.
Where's the property at? I don't know where the HVAC is right on campus.
I'll text that information to Whisper and Mr. Little.
Yeah. Well, and if we just,
Gillen. Yep.
if we show that we're making an effort to do something, I think that puts us in a good position.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Ellie.
We might also let Mark Couture know. He was in last week and was gonna start that list of hunters. So I don't know if he's already got a list going, but he was gonna help pay gas for folks to get out and hunt, so that could maybe coordinate with that.
Carol?
Mr. Chairman,
I was just gonna say, Terry, if you hear of others, let us know. I would like to see us handle the fencing, purchase the fencing if we can, and I know that's gonna be costly, but this isn't gonna end until we can get a handle on these herds.
Well, then it's going to be an issue over at Helena, and I'd like to be able to let them know, and our legal to know that we're trying to be proactive and address these issues rather than just Cause I know Gail said he called one department and they said, well, there's nothing we can do. And I said, well, let us talk about it. Cause I said, it is a concern of the tribe and we're wanting to at least be good neighbors, so.
Mr. Chairman, it seems like there's an assault on our hunting from previous legislators, legislatures, and so I think, yeah, it's important that we do address it.
Jim?
Mr. Chairman, I was on that depredation list for 3 years. And one year, my brother and I went down and we harvested 4 deer down on Kranz's property. There was no place that could take them. That all of the packing plants were overwhelmed. That's not a problem with me because I usually process my own meat anyway. That's usually what causes the problem. If they go out and they drop 2 or 3 elk, where are they going to take them if they're not prepared to, take care of them themselves? I mean, not everybody does it like I do. I got a big garage and I take care of that stuff, but that was the thing we ran into. So maybe there's something you need to consider right in that area. Maybe working out something with, because I'd like to be on that list again, but again, I'm going to run into the same thing, so just a suggestion, maybe we need to look at a packing plant somehow. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jim. Ellie?
I think Mark also mentioned that the Lidos was willing to take 10.
Deb's pretty good. Yeah. All right, well, I'll let wildlife program know of Dale's concern. But
I know when I went on the last buffalo hunt, they were all filled up, just like Jim was talking about. So I had to go down to just past Plains, Clark Fork. There's 2 outfits, one on Eddy Flat and one there just the other side of Plains. But that is an issue, and that's why I hope in the future we can really look at getting a setup of our own to take care of, because this would be perfect for our membership and our elders and people that are in need if we were able to process these animals.
thank you, Terry. Okay, Jimmy, you had some? That was it.
That snowplowing deal is what
Okay.
I was, but also I just got a message, we don't have to hurry, the games are canceled.
Brownie's not coming?
That must not be coming. That was his
Those wimps.
that Josh Martin, his grandma that texted me.
We go over there and they don't come over here. Okay, let's see. Carol?
Yeah, I would like to ask for an executive, won't take much.
Okay. Len, are you an executive or open? One item?
And we can wait until we have an executive and I can just do it at the end of it. It's no big deal.
Okay. Oh, well, we'll do yours. Go ahead, Len.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, last week, Judge Dusty Deshaw reached out to me. As many of you know, he administers one of 2 ICWA courts in the state of Montana. And so he was trying to compile flags from every reservation. So he's requested a flag from our tribe. I told him I would present that to council. And this is just something he could display in his courtroom. So I get permission from the council, I could get a flag over to him.
Consensus of council to provide a flag? Yeah, I think everybody's going, yeah. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Patty, we had a snowplow issue we're hoping to take care of, at least get some snowplowers up. And so I'll let Terry and Jimmy talk about it, especially the Evero Chalet area. And the plow driver went by the elder's house and kind of missed coming by there, like a common courtesy. But so we're wanting to know who the plowers are up in Evero Chalet under your branch of the government. And if there is a way you can let them know to get up there before Thursday. And maybe some of the stuff's not particularly on their route, but they see someone in need, maybe they just would do the good thing.
Absolutely. So our two snow plowers are Lloyd and then also Jay Skellinger. So those are our two snow plowers. They're running 6 snow plows across the reservation. I just came from DHRD, was meeting with them, so asked for a schedule of those routes that they're plowing. Based on the number of elders that have asked for assistance with snow plowing, that averages to about 50 driveways per plow, which is impossible to plow out in one day. So it's taking them 2 to 3 days to complete their routes to get people snowed out when there's the snow. But I believe everybody's getting plowed out, but maybe not as quickly as they think, because it takes that amount of time to get to everyone.
The person that was needing the assistant was Dolores Adams.
Okay.
Jimmy?
Yeah, Patricia, thank you, Chair. I got a call, several of us got a call from Dolores over the weekend, and there was a snowplow plowing that road right in front of her house, and she asked if they could push her driveway out. And they said they can't do that, for her to call housing. And this lady write that out with a handrail, just so she can get her car out. But it's not a very long driveway, but it's a real steep driveway. And most of them on that lower side down there are pretty steep. So if they, if these guys could, I mean, we need to ask them if they could plow those guys out, because they're pretty much, all of them are pretty much elders down there. And I hate to see them doing that with a shovel or a rake. It's pretty steep. It's cold, and they're not youngsters, so they need all the help they can get. And I'd like to see if we could ask housing if they would allow them drivers to just push them driveways up.
Yeah, that one makes sense for them to do that when they're there. So
Yeah.
I'll communicate with housing on that.
Okay.
The other thing that I didn't say is Elderly Services has their own mini plow. And they've got a list of the elders that are homebound and have serious medical issues. They are now going out to plow them out in between when Lloyd and Jay's plows are going out. So,
Okay.
because we want to make sure that we can get emergency medical vehicles in there should that need to happen for those particular elders. So the chore workers are starting to take that out daily when we have these snows.
Okay.
So if you hear of any elder that needs a plow immediately, due to medical issues, let us know. We'll make sure the chore workers get out there to manage it until the big plows get there.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Carol.
On a positive note, yesterday I notified Patricia and Patricia Cushing, I think, and they were there within an hour to Diane Grant. So thank you so much for getting out there. I know they're like Dolores, 83, so that's quite elderly. Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you, Carol. Anything else for Patty? Go ahead, Terry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Patty, I was wondering, the other day I drove into Missoula and above the highway at Evero, I saw a guy with a four-wheeler and a plow. I was wondering if they could ask the residents around there if, because I can see a problem with a big truck trying to get into some of these places. They'd have to back out. But if there was someone up there, they could put on a list to be able to go into these driveways, at least to plow them to their car and so they can get out. That might be a thought, but I saw someone there. I think it was heading towards Bing's place.
Mm-hmm. And that's what our snow plows do, is they're plowing driveways up to where the car parks. Thank you.
Thanks, Patty.
You bet.
You too.
Patty.
All right, Carol, we can wait for yours, executive later this morning. Okay. All right, we'll move to our first agenda item, Steve McDonald.
Good morning, everybody. Hi, yeah, I've come here to ask for requesting an extension to one of our contracts. Our loggers are having a very difficult time right now trying to hire truckers to haul the logs from their logging sites. And this is the case that's happening with Bitterroot Contracting. They're up in the Boulder timber salvage sale, and they have about 30 loads that they've cut and decked. It's sitting up there, but they can't find a driver and a truck to haul them to the mill, and their cut and pay date is approaching at the end of the year. So that means we need to get those logs to the mill, so we can get the purchaser to pay for the logs and get them on the books. So we're asking for an extension in this contract until I believe it's April, I believe, just to give them a little cushion to get the logs to the mill. There seems to be a lot of truck drivers that are broke down, and they're all working for somebody. So getting one for the individual loggers is proven to be a challenge at this point. We're having the same issues with our other loggers too. So this doesn't affect what our projected revenue would have been for this fiscal year. It's still all within the same fiscal year. So I put this up for your consideration.
Thank you, Steve. Any questions? I know coincidentally, when I drove to Libby on Thursday to watch basketball, there was 2 logging trucks loaded that were dead on the highway. Maybe something in the wind. Yeah.
Something in the wind, yeah.
Any questions for Steve? It's pretty simple. Terry, motion by Terry to approve the contract extension for BFS Lower Cable Logging Unit. Second by Jimmy. Any further discussion? See none. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you for your time. Merry Christmas.
You too. All right. Ruth? Greg?
Good morning, Ruth.
Quick, keep waking them. So, oh, someone's already way ahead of me. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, Council, page 7 of your packet, requesting modification 5 to the total budget allocations. We are increasing the awarded amounts in contracts and grants for those 2 functional areas, government services and natural resources. And then on the next page, we will bring in some prior period general fund revenues in education. When we had our tribal license plate, we collected those revenues and reserved those for scholarships, which is administered by Tribal Ed. I'm understanding this is the final remaining revenue, so they've requested it be posted for their use this fiscal year. The total increase will be $2,328,28 for a total revised allocation of $262,727,741.
Any questions? License plate revenue. Are they still doing that? Are we still doing that every year?
I'm still seeing a couple of plates out there, but they phased them out.
Yeah, I thought they consolidated them, like there was too many.
Yeah, and then
plates.
after, I think after 5 years, you're required to get a new plate. So I think we're gonna start seeing the end of those, unfortunately. I had one and then no longer have, I had 2 actually.
Motion by Mike to approve a resolution approving modification 5 of the fiscal year 2023 total budget allocation. Second by Martin. Any further discussion? See none, all those in favor? Unanimous?
Thank you.
Morning, Greg.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of council. It's good to see you today. So I'm here first on behalf of the Lands Department. We have the pending close on the purchase of the Pablo Glacier Bank office, which is scheduled to close on our calendar on December 29th. I'm trying to make sure that our files are complete with a resolution authorizing the purchase of that property. And this is presented on behalf of Louise Mitchell and the Lands Department for resolution confirming or affirming the purchase of that Pablo Glacier Bank office.
Go ahead, Len.
In addition to this, we are also purchasing the property surrounding this also, correct?
Yes, sir. I believe
Yeah.
that that purchase has been consummated. I'll double check.
Okay, reason why I ask is I see the Ryan Zinke sign still up there. Thought I'd throw that out there.
We must have supported a winner, huh? You should let them know that that's our property. I actually got a call from one of his supporters asking what the process was to putting up signs on tribal land. Asking for forgiveness and that they will go through the process in the future.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Len to approve the resolution acquiring the tribal land in Pablo, or the land and acquisition in Pablo. Second by Mike. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, show of hands. Unanimous? Go ahead, Carol.
Is the plan still to move all of the individuals that take money in up there?
The plan is to use that for two purposes. I believe that the short-term use for that is to accommodate three chiefs as they transition away from the Allard location, to make that a temporary landing spot for them. And I believe that upstairs, we're trying to determine what parts of the governmental organizations do things that would look good in a banking location, and use that as a pilot program in order to make sure that our services are delivered in a uniform manner.
And I did think that at one time we talked about putting preservation downstairs because of the vault and other things, but that's, thank you.
Okay, Greg.
All right, thank you, sir. And so moving on in the agenda are a series of what are called journal entry approvals that rise to the level of council approval. So I wanted to take a minute and outline for you the process, outline for you the policies that are in place and why we're requiring council approval for the journal entries. And I'm happy to have that discussion with you in open session, or take that into executive if you prefer. Anecdote, or on another note, I've told the ladies and gentlemen that are part of the programs that we're doing the journal entries that I'll take them to council on their behalf, so that I can answer any questions that you might have and just make sure that we're getting this complete, because it's an important part of closing out fiscal 22.
Hey, Carol.
I wonder in the future if we could maybe take action to maybe you just handle these in the future, because you know what needs to be done, and I appreciate knowing what's going on, but I think this is kind of in the weeds for us.
I'm happy to review the
That's just
policy.
my thought.
I'm happy to review the policy. So to make it clear to everyone, when the tribes close their books at the end of the calendar year, September 30th, that's the end of our fiscal year. And we ask all of the programs to provide any journal entries that account for expenses that are appropriately to be placed in the right program or to balance out all of their programs. And each and every year, we provide them a window all the way up until November 3rd, giving them all of October to accomplish those things. After the November 3rd deadline, what we're trying to do is make sure that there is a point in time where the programs get that work done. This information then is provided to our auditors who go through and with a fine-tooth comb, verify that all of those additions to our general ledger are appropriate and accurate, and it's what is the basis for the audit. You might note that the tribe operates on about $125 million worth of federal grant funding, and having a no findings audit is really an important part of moving forward as an organization, because when we ask for new grant money, knowing that there's no findings on that audit moves those grant requests into a special category that move more smoothly through the process, rather than for us to have to explain why there are irregularities in our accounting. That's really the reason for the deadline, and we want to make sure that our programs are working in an accurate and have the appropriate urgency to make sure that that is closed in an appropriate time fashion. I'm happy to review the policy in the upcoming fiscal year so that it can be applied more smoothly. Are there any questions?
Any questions from council? Mike Martin?
If we take this out, it'll be another thing we get criticized for letting the executive team do. And so, you know, we gotta make sure we're cognizant of that.
Any other comments, Mike?
I tend to agree with Carol that notice is what we really need more than the actual authorization.
Any other comments? Yeah, I know that some of us have worked for the tribes, you know, in the past, get caught up in these some of these journal entries. Yeah, a lot of times it's just a due process. It's part of doing business. Sometimes it's just out of your control with some of your contractors or purchasing. But sometimes there's some negligence on the part of staff. So or other circumstances. I think it's very prudent that we at least as Mike has suggested, that we are apprised of the situation as we know, because it is a significant thing if you get a bunch of audit findings and you're not managing, or you're not keeping your process up to date, and it can be a negative process. So right now, this is the process that we have approved, and it's been that way for quite some time, I believe. Is that right?
The policy was put into effect in October of 2012.
Okay. Any other questions? All right.
Would you like for me to present the journal entries and we'll
Yes.
rock and roll through them? Would you like? For me
We
to
got to get her done.
Would you like for me to do those in open conversation here?
I don't know why it would need to be an executive.
That's fine with me. I just wanted to double check, sir. All right, so the first set of journal entries are coming to us from Fire Control. Fire Control just recently moved into a new 5-year contract, and the March date that the prior one concluded, some of the payroll journal entries were still going into the prior year contract. We've moved them over into the current contract, which lasts another 5 years. And this is a large journal entry. It's the Division of Fire 22-094, and it moves those from the program that is closed into the new program. There are 2 other journal entries in the Division of Fire that we noticed that 2 gas bills had been applied to the wrong program. August Exxon pops up here in front of you. And I think that there was another date for an Exxon payment. These are bookkeeping journal entries getting the costs associated with the right programs. The next set of journal entries are going to be in ECS. ECS, with consultation with Contracts and Grants Group, identified a certain component of their grant function that allowed them to apply certain salary and benefits. And so the journal entries for ECS move those into the program that provides them with the funding to cover those payroll costs and benefits. And so this is an appropriate allocation of those payroll expenses to the program that allows them to charge them. It much like education's last week, this takes tribal funds that have been expensed on their behalf and replaces them with programmatic funds, alleviating or replacing those tribal dollars that were expensed. NRD has a 1, 2, 3 that are the appropriate allocation of aquatic and invasive species costs to the right program. They had been misallocated during the fiscal year, and this is a corrective journal entry that puts them into the right place. Preservation has about 23 journal entries that are here presented. Many of them are appropriately trying to seek reimbursement for expenses that were accumulated during the course of the fiscal year. And these journal entries are attestation that the requests have been made to the funding agencies in order to provide the reimbursement. Parenthetically, when the activities are being done at the programmatic level, the expenses are covered by short-term by tribal funds, and then we rely upon the programs to go seek reimbursement from those funding agencies once they've reached or completed the tasks associated with those programs. So these journal entries go back and seek that reimbursement and claw back that money to replace tribal dollars that were expended on behalf of those activities.
Right, Carol?
For years, and maybe it's just a couple of years, but it's been maybe 4 or 5 years ago, that program was in dire straits with trying to recover their funding. And it seems like they've got it turned around. But I also understand that the tribes did receive funding, and they put it into a sub account where preservation wasn't aware of it. And it was like it was hidden, but they did receive the money because they went back and backtracked with Northwestern Energy, found out that it was here at the tribes. And so I think things like that within your office, and I know things happen. I'm not trying to be critical. I'm just saying that they've come a long way from what they were at one point. And I think it was hundreds of thousands of dollars they were behind. So I'm glad they're getting it turned around. 23 seems like a lot, but they probably have a lot of transactions also.
Thank you for your comment. One of my commitments in the last fiscal year and continuing on in this fiscal year is to provide ongoing financial training to all of the dispersed financial experts in the organization. We've done 5 boot camps. We provide them training, and we ask them to come in. There are 2 scheduled already for this year in February and August. And my commitment is to make sure that finance is continuing to provide appropriate training from entry level for new hires, for transitioning, for department heads, and anyone that wants to be requested to come, self-selects, or select somebody on their team. We're committed to providing that ongoing training so that we're improving that financial function across the organization. I think the last one on my list is from DHRD. There are, I believe, 16, 17 journal entries here. And much of this activity is just making sure that the appropriate expenses are attributed to the right programs. As I mentioned just a moment ago, we're committed to improving that function in all areas, not only the ones that we see today, but across the board, so that there's uniformity and consistency. And so these are, again, journal entries between programs, moving expenses to the right place where they belonged perhaps earlier in the year. And those are the ones that we're taking care of today. Those are the ones on my list, and I'll be happy at the break to present them for signature.
Good, Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Greg. So I thought, if I remember right, the point of this was to have the departments come in themselves, and that way council could just wag their fingers at them, and now you get to take the bullet.
I will do what you direct me to do. My intent is to make sure that we close out the fiscal year, efficiently and correctly, and that we maintain a zero findings audit standing. I will do what you instruct me to do, and as we review this policy, I'm happy to take your recommendations.
I wouldn't shoot at you, Greg. You're nicer than that. Thank you for doing that. Can we approve them all at the same time?
I would assume so.
So I'll make a motion to,
Approve all the journal entries.
yeah, that are after the fact, and make sure that we wag our finger at all those departments. I'm gonna do better next year.
Motion by Martin, second by Len. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Show of hands. Unanimous, I believe. Just one question, Greg, in following up on those particular ones that might be gross negligence, are you identifying those, or is that from the supervisor level coming up your way?
I'm taking an active role in making sure that the standards that we're holding each other to and are being demonstrated up and down the organizational chart. And my commitment is to improving that function. So we'll be asking them to come in on an ongoing basis to make those ongoing training sessions more impactful. And we are always on the lookout for negligence or for areas that could put us in any jeopardy whatsoever.
So the one example is like someone charged it the wrong topic or line item, and so which is wholly preventable, in my opinion. But and I noticed that like DHRD, that was most of those appear to be that way.
Correct. We're taking also an active or a proactive role in closing down any programs that have, where their contract or their funding agency has ceased. We're taking a more active role in closing those off to avoid those keystroke errors in the future, to make sure that we're playing a dual role in helping as well as correcting.
Good, thank you. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and Merry Christmas.
You too. All right. We're a little ahead of schedule. We can take a break. Oh, Jennifer?
I don't know if you want to take a break or do your executive.
It's up to you, Carol. We'll do it now? Yeah. Let's do a quick executive, and then we'll take a break. Morning. All right, we'll come back into session after break. Good morning, John, Cindy, Gordon.
Good morning, members of the council. Thank you for the opportunity to have us come in and present the annual report to the contractor. Our annual report to the customer happens the third Wednesday, or the last Wednesday of April, sorry. So that's when we do the goodie bags and things like that. But this is a recap on fiscal year 22, derived by the staff, edited by the utility board, and then bring in front of the tribal council to review and see what we've been doing there. So I'm going to start us out, not on the cover page. Next page now, some additions that has been different from past years is the customer service is now closed from lunch from 12 to 12:30. We're still operating the bank bullet that we have there, pay online, pay over the phone, but we give a break for our customer service folks from 12 to 12:30 for lunch. We close down and have the customers come back at 12:30 or make an electronic payment. We are open Monday to Thursday, 7 to 5:30. Currently, right now, we're carrying 69 full-time employees at MVP. We have 3 temporary employment agreements and 2 kids that are in college that we're carrying under temporary employment agreements also. Our lower part of the page shows that our customer service supervisor is a vacant position now as we're preparing for the future organizational chart that we will be combining some positions as engineering and operations, similar to what other utilities do around us, surrounding utilities. And we will be combining the support services and customer services supervisor as through attrition. Nobody's been laid off or given a pink slip. But this is just a future plan that we have that, of course, is a plan that can be amended anytime by the utility board. We have our after hours number and pay over by the phone, which those programs continue to increase. As we'll be closed on Thursday, I let the chair know that we will be having our after hours available. And speaking of chair, my utility chair couldn't make it today. She had a other appointment that she had to attend. She wanted to apologize for not being able to make it. This is a third page that we do a message from the general manager. And one of the items that we wanted to let folks know this year is extended lead times due to supply chain issues have made equipment more difficult to procure in a timely manner. So if you're doing a new service at your house, for example, it's going to take a little more time to buy a 200 amp fuse box or 400 amp fuse box. If you're going out to buy that install, it's the same on our end of purchasing transformers. We've seen lead times into the 2 to 3 year range now. We are now serving over 2,400 meters in our service area, which equates to roughly 20,000 customers for us. Some folks are involved in irrigation, have multiple accounts. 24,000, sorry, I said 2,400, my bad. Thank you, I appreciate that. New services this year, as we'll see later in the report, were a 10-year high for us. The last 2 years have been 10-year high for new services in our area. So it's put a really big strain on equipment, existing equipment, and we're making sure that we're making reservations for the existing customers that we've had. If they've had a meter burnout, that we carry that equipment rather than giving that out to new service customers right away. We want to keep an inventory that we know our inventory is real so that if we have outages in the middle of nights, we can serve those people that have been paying customers. And we look forward to providing for our existing customers and our future customers. This is a picture of our former utility board. Gene and Chuck are no longer on the utility board. Gordon, Cindy, Richard has joined us in Zoom, as has Dan, I believe, Dan DePoe. Yes, he is on there. So our utility board is able to be contacted through our front office, and we have bi-monthly meetings. Twice a month we meet on every other Monday, and this policy board works on how the utility is ran on a day-to-day basis. Just a note, Cindy and Gordon have been with us since 1997, so we're breaking some records as far as length of time, right? We still maintain a consumer council. We have 7 folks that are on the Consumer Council. We have a advertisement year this year, which will pick up some more. Consumer Council are composed of folks from Lake County, Sanders County, Missoula County, and has tribal member representation on it. The Consumer Council will meet monthly if needed. If there's a customer concern, a customer can call in to the front office and make an appointment, which I had one make an appointment right before I came over. So we are unique in the way that as a utility, our 93-638 contract allows us to have a consumer council to advocate for our consumers, which makes us a little bit different than any other utility in Western Montana. So this is a really powerful tool, and just happy to share that this is a good place that folks can come in if they have concerns about their bills or issues of items that are happening. This board is very good, council is very good about listening to what the concerns are and deriving solutions. Happy to be working with them. In our customer service department, we, similar to the tribe, we struggled with opening the doors for COVID, and then COVID would come back, we'd close the doors. So we went back and forth. Our customer service supervisor retired in July of 22, and we're operating customer service now with lead person wage until we combine together. Our online forms on our website have become more user-friendly as they're fillable PDFs. Folks don't have to come in. They can fill out the PDF and then turn it back in the website, and then we can process the paperwork now, which has made streamlined, made paperless a lot easier, and then allowed us the opportunity to get to the new services in a manner when things are slower. A really important item, we continue to implement several multiple customer assistance programs. We apply credits during the winter months for seniors and disabled customers that qualify for LEHAP. We also have customer accounts that are credited per month for paying residential and general services for the paying customers that are on time every year. One positive item about looking 5 years back on the chart that's up in front, we can see kiosks, smart hub, items like that that are electronic payments away from coming from the office are becoming more and more popular to our customers. And our outreach to customers now has grown a lot stronger as we are now giving manual phone calls to folks that are getting close to shut off so that they're aware and they can make arrangements rather than just receiving the red card. So our numbers continue to decrease in those items. We also share a page on our annual report of the historical rate increases since 1937. Most of these are pass-throughs, which happens when the provider changes their amount that they're charging us, then we have to pass through that amount. When it's a revenue rate increase, it's advertised in the newspapers and we have public comment, and that process will go on for up to 90 days before a revenue rate increase can be accomplished.
John, just one question. Maybe you said this and I missed it, or it's in the document and I missed it. How many total customers do you have? Do you have a table on how many customers have gone up through time?
Yeah, I do have a table. I didn't add it to this. I would be happy to provide that. I can let you know in 2011, there was 12,000 customers. In 2023, there's 20,000.
Okay.
So yes, we do track that yearly.
And when we're talking about customer, that's an individual meter, or that's how many meters are out there?
Yeah, that's actually people. The number of meters is 24,000. So people could have multiple accounts if he's got irrigation and an extra house that he rents.
Thank you.
Yes, you bet. That's something we track really close just for those reasons, and we've been tracking growth throughout the years.
I guess one more question.
Yeah, please.
Sorry. How many of those customers then are tribal members?
So I've back of the envelope figured it and have come up with the number that 4/5 of them are non-members and 1/5 are members. So we have 20,000 customers. That would mean, roughly 16,000 are non-members. Okay, somewhere around there.
Thank you.
And then, we started to cross-reference the enrollment book with accounts so that we can see how many tribal member accounts we have. There's no breakout that we've had that before. And we've tried to think about scenarios possibly of a tribal member renting a house from a non-member. You know, he's still paying the electric bill there, of course, multiple houses and whatnot. But it is something that we figured that we'd have to know for future reference.
Go ahead, Lynn.
John, just out of curiosity, I've been thinking about this for some time and not knowing the specifics of the 638 contract. But are we able to apply a discounted rates to tribal members only?
You know, not through the utility this way, so it'd be similar to like Lehap. So if you had tribal members that wanted to come in and fill out an application, the Lehap office usually sends us who's approved. And then we will enact their credits that way. So that would come from, I would just say the complex, this office, to let us know that John Matt brought in his bill, tribal council's gonna take care of it, and then you'd send it over to me, and then we would mark it that way and flag that account.
Okay, so right now there's no way of saying, so we call you up and say, hey, we want this discount applied to all the memberships that you got listed as your customers.
Yeah, and right, we're having to work the long way with that. We're having to go and look at the enrollment book and see who has an account and go back that way. So we're working through that process right now, but if you asked that today, I wouldn't know for a positive.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, you bet.
Would that be something legal should look at? If you really got serious about that, legal should look at it seriously? Because I was always under the impression that under the 638 contract, we have to treat all customers equal.
So, and just to add on to that, if the tribe made a choice to pay tribal members accounts, then that's something that could be accomplished. That's just like, you know, me paying for Gordon's or something like that if we wanted to. So that would be your guys' option if you'd want to accomplish that. And as far as rate setting goes for us, Cindy's exactly right. We have to treat everybody the same. Some highlights in our engineering department. We received approximately 570 work orders this last fiscal year and completed 333 new services. We were also able to complete a Ronan substation upgrade. That is a 40-year upgrade that equipment is prepared for any growth in Ronan and made it much safer for our employees to work on. We have 16 distribution substations that we work on to make sure that they're running properly. Each substation has roughly 2 to 3 taps on it. Pablo, for example, has 3 taps on it. So we make sure that everyone's maintained and everybody's receiving power depending which way it goes. And the substations are used to step down power to make it usable at the houses. We are looking forward to in January, which is in 2023, that we will start to receive our new TWACS, which is a two-way communication system in metering. For example, if there's an issue at Gordon's house, we'll be able to look at that on the computer or the iPad rather than having to go out to Gordon's house and service his meter there. We'll get voltage reads back and what he's receiving and if he's receiving the right amount of power from us. For our TWACS rollout, our substations that are ready to go are the Pablo substations, Ravalli, Arlee, and Ronan, Mission, and Charlo. We had a plan to work south and work north this way. Polson obviously has the bigger population. When we receive our new metering equipment, it runs in parallel with our old equipment. So once we start putting our new equipment in there, then we can use our older equipment in different areas until we receive the next order.
Question.
Please.
John, just out of curiosity, do we have security cameras at those substations?
We have the capability to have that. We've only put one at one substation in the past that we were having issues with in Polson.
Yeah.
We've only reacted to things, not been proactive. We can install them that we would get one view of like the door walking in, You know, we don't have the motion sensitive cameras
Yeah,
that are there.
I was just thinking about the incident that took place in North Carolina, where the guy went up and shot up the whole substation, and thousands of people were out of lights for a couple days, you know. But yeah, I wondered.
It is security and preventative maintenance, and we've had one of our substations shot at before, Urban Flats. That's been shot at before, that we've had some issues of kids just down there partying and shooting at the substation. So we've worked with signage right now, but yes, we have the capability, because every substation we have has fiber to it. So we have the ability to attach those cameras if the board so chooses that they want to make that directive. Yeah, that's definitely, something we can follow up on at the next board meeting. Thank you.
You know, if you do Buffalo Bridge, then I know the Fish and Game program would love to have the ability to look at that area also.
We have the best capability of doing that if we want. I wouldn't mind visiting with Mr. McClure about that and letting him know that we have those capabilities. I mean, I think it would be great to share those resources.
Yeah, that would work really well.
But yes, I'm concerned about that too. Cindy let me know there was 30,000 people out for a couple days. You know, ordering equipment is not easy now, and if we have something like that happen that is not smart to do, then there isn't a lot of reactive time. We'd be calling neighbors and asking them for equipment to get through. The last portion of this is renewable energy, net metering, whether it be wind or solar. Most of our net metering, 59 of them, are solar. So we don't have much wind capability here. The amount that was produced this last year was almost 350 kW out of the substation. Obviously, on days like today, would not be great for solar panels or the winter months period for us. But we do continue to see net metering increase, and we moved our systems from a 10 kilowatt system up to a 20 kilowatt system to give customers more opportunity if they wanted to provide bigger systems.
John, there was a question last week, I think it was last week, about the old Hell Roaring hydro plant, and I said, well, it's been mothballed, and so could you elaborate when that happened?
Yes, I would be glad to. It was mothballed in 2011 when that log crib dam was removed for safety reasons, and it was replaced with riprap. And since that time, one of the pen stocks that came down from there was crushed when the logging sale went on there in Hell Roaring, and it was never repaired. So that pen stock usually carried water, has some rocks in it now down by the generator at the plant. We still maintain the plant, keep it clean and ready to go. When I have this conversation, I discussed that the water is tribal water, and if there wanted to be some sort of modification into where the water drains into the penstock from the dam, then it could be modified, and then that's still operation sitting there. That was been in operation, one of the first places that had power in Polson. And so it's ready to go once we have some water. And just another sidebar, I heard another study that they looked further down the creek there, Hell Roaring Creek, to where a spot that they could tap into that would change the route, which would have the same effect of generating a half a megawatt that it always able to produce in the past. Thank you for that. Oops, let's see here, I'm stuck. Okay, operations and construction department. These folks were super busy with new services and test and treat, replacing poles this year. We've added an additional emphasis to tree trimming this year. We added 4 apprentices in our tree trimming program, and we also have 4 apprentices that we started this last year in the line program. So we're really working to rewind the clock, have some younger folks in there, and then look forward to the future of having trained, qualified folks, which all our apprentices are tribal members right now. Last year we had 10, 2 of them have turned out to become journeyman linemen now. Another item that I'm super proud of is we completed our area light change out in our whole entire system, which we went from high pressure sodium lights to LED lights, which use about 50% less energy. So that's a overall savings. And so we were able to pass that on to customers with a different rate for their area lights. The last item, we've moved to working with contractors more on locates, as we have had a gentleman retire, and our costs now are down 2/3 less than it was before for providing underground locates. More and more stuff goes underground all the time, as we know. We want to make sure that we don't hit phone, fiber, wire. Our support services department is our department that typically works with our warehouse and ordering in our mechanic shop. We have a fleet of 67 vehicles, 35 trailers, and 30 odd pieces of equipment, excavators, backhoes, that we are constantly on our capital plan looking to upgrade. And it's just a challenge right now. Building a new service truck, line truck, can take up to 3 years with the cost of about $300,000. So we have to break that cost up over multiple years to be able to continue to purchase equipment. We're running 4 crews, so each crew has a derrick digger, a line truck, and squirt boom, and a service truck that they work with. So all that times 4. We hired a cost of service third party this springtime to complete the revenue rate increase that was accomplished in April. We have the third party accomplish that so that if there's any questions by the customers, we have a PowerPoint presentation that that party put together to show by implementing all the items, revenue requirements, an inflation number, which obviously has changed since the spring, a cost of equipment, cost of labor. We factor all those items in there with the number of accounts we have and how much power we use to derive what the revenue increase would look like. So very defendable. Our accounting department, we have to make sure that we're not only following tribal accounting rules, but also government standards, as each item is audited, and we've been successful in the past 35 years of audits. Only one audit finding. Some of the financial highlights for fiscal year 22. As everybody knows, our system is very weather driven. So when we have cold weather like this, we obviously sell more kilowatt hours. Customers turn on their heat a little bit more. So for us to predict and say, this year is going to be like last year, well, it might be better the way it's shaping up so far. It's just a function of we're a winter peaking facility, and more power is being used at this time than any other time of the year. So last year we had a net increase over what we predicted to be the budget of about 2.2 million that will go into programs like the emergency operating reserve and any other invoices that we owe, back equipment that we have to buy. We are now carrying over money from a fiscal year to the next fiscal year because of the long lead times in ordering. We also show our income at the top. Sales revenue is obviously where most of it comes from. The miscellaneous revenue is about $1 million over than what it normally is. Miscellaneous revenue is like car versus pole, new services, aid to construction. Gordon comes in and signs up. He has to pay for that extension out as the customer. And so that's what aid to construction is, and the miscellaneous revenue was much higher. We had more people in our service area this year apply for new services. A large part of our expenditures are power purchases that make up roughly 50% of our expenditures. And we can just go down by down. We have capital and maintenance that are performed, which are approved budgets yearly in June by the utility board suggested by staff. Please.
In regards to miscellaneous revenue, seeing all of the new people moving into the valley and just at an astronomical rate every year, it just seems like it's getting higher and higher. Are we looking at increasing those costs, you know, like aid to construction and stuff like that, so we can capture that, you know, capture all of that revenue that's coming in from all the new people? I mean, is that something we're going to do every year? Or
That's a great question, because this was on our board agenda this last week, was to review the aid to construction costs. Mission Valley Power gives a $500 rebate to anybody who comes and signs up. That was, as we found in the past, that was an incentive to get more people to move into our area, which obviously we don't need that incentive anymore. And so, yes, that's within the board's privy to adjust that, and we would adjust that in our operation manual also, so that new people coming in would know that the credit's no longer provided. We've talked about dropping it to 250 or even to 0. But that's what the board's discussing right now, of where they want to go forward with that. You bet. You bet. And there is cost that could be captured there. Again, Len, I appreciate that question. It's very true. That's what we're looking at and running. With all these new services, are we capturing the cost of every pole, every transformer that's out there? As we've seen, costs triple for us in a lot of equipment. I wanted to, one of my favorite things is our safety and environmental compliance department. We have monthly trainings. We strive for 0 accidents. We put on safety demonstrations, tabletop demonstrations to schools. This is a small picture of the folks at Hot Springs. If a school makes a request, we will make the time to go over and put on a tabletop demonstration to show how electricity works around their house and on a farm. We have in-service trainings if we get any new equipment. We have trainings on OSHA topics. We were going over this year's topic at the last meeting. We're doing resilience training, team building training, items that help us move forward to become a stronger group. We have near misses that we track. One item that we're really paying attention to this year is to make sure that every crew's filling out a job safety analysis every day. When they're out in the field, we recognize that their job is very dangerous, and we want our employees to be aware of all the situations, and situations change all the time. On a job safety briefing, you will see the standard job, but you'll also see the conditions that are factoring in the job today. It could be school getting out, working near a school, could be cold weather. All our employees are given, not all of our line personnel are giving fire-resistant clothes, arc-rated clothes, so that they're safe to work inside of substations. We do our best to make sure that the employees have safe equipment to work, including tools. We've looked a lot at energy efficiency. We've ran the program for 35 years from Bonneville Power. We're the third party that administers the program. They give us a static amount every 2 years. It's the money that customers are paying for their bills. We pay Bonneville. Bonneville gives us some money back to operate energy efficiency. At the top of the page, for every dollar MVP spends on energy conservation, BPA spending about $29 in our service area, about $30. So we can see that through CFL and LED light fixtures. There's questions on how are the kilowatt hours derived from that, and it's a formula that Bonneville comes up based on what their scientists find of what is the value of a manufactured home once you put it up, or what's the kilowatt hour saving versus a regular trailer or a Montana home, or appliances. Each appliance has a different value. All of our energy efficiency items are found online at our website, www.missionvalleypower.org, and there are fillable PDFs so that folks can fill out their energy rebates and turn them into us, and we will recognize them. Nearing the end here, customers' revenue. You can see the biggest part of Pac-Man right here is residential, 15,690 businesses. Then there's small commercial, which makes up another component. And I've always found interesting, irrigation makes up a really small component, only 342 customers there, 4.9%. And so this breaks it out, and then revenue by rate class. Again, looking at the big Pac-Man down here, 20,000 of that revenue comes from just residential, just homes. 20 million, I'm sorry. The other components make up the rest of it, small businesses, bigger businesses. But that's how revenue per rate class is derived. And that concludes our annual report for the contractor today. Is there any questions?
Any questions? I know I wanted to report back to you that there was a couple of people wanted to show their appreciation for MVP and helping with Christmas lights and, you know, all that things that are going on. So that's appreciative.
That's super awesome to share that the towns of St. Ignatius, Polson, and Hot Springs this year all reached out for our help. And typically Ronan's done by the telephone company. They're the ones that reach out there, but we're always glad to lend a hand with something like that. Thank you for that comment.
Anything else from council? Any questions about the annual report? All right. Thank you.
Thank you for that opportunity today. Everybody have a happy holidays and a safe Christmas. Thank you.
Keep the lights on.
Oh boy, -20, they gotta stay on. The phone will go off the ring. You'll hear about it too.
Yeah, everybody will be at my house crowded around the wood stove. Okay, who's next?
Jordan.
Jordan, good morning.
Good morning. If we could go into executive for the lobbying update, that would be great.
Okay, we'll move into executive session.
The two resolutions for AIS. Chelsea, you wanna?
Motion by Carol to approve both resolutions or one at a time.
Do it action at a time.
Okay.
I'll do the first one.
The first one's a BIA. Was it the BIA resolution? Don't have it.
The first one is the mobile station application.
Motion by Carol to approve, second by Martin. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Let's see, 8-4, one other, nope, Terry, you for that one? Unanimous. And the second resolution,
Motion.
motion by Carol. Second by Martin. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous.
Okay. Next, Mr. Chairman, Council, is possible action on the marijuana agreement that Mike presented.
Motion by Len to approve the entering into the marijuana agreement with the state of Montana. Second by Ellie. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? 8-4, one against. Mike?
Okay. Then last, Mr. Chairman, is a resolution to enter into contract for Mr. Zach Zipfel.
Motion by Mike to approve entering into the contract with Mr. Zach Zippel. Second by Jennifer. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Council. Just want to give you guys a heads up. I'll be out of the office next week, but Lana Page will be acting in my place. So,
Okay,
all right, super. Hope you all have a great holiday.
thank you. You too.
Chairman, I'd request we go back into executive for this information since it's not official and I don't want anyone to
Okay.
hear it and run with it.
Whoa, go back. So you all know, we have cake in the back room because it's Martin's birthday. Thursday, so I want to sing happy birthday to him right now. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Martin. Happy birthday to you. Woo-hoo. I'll have you know our Sergeant at Arms made that from scratch. Like her.
Thank you, guys. It's probably the only time I'll get happy birthday sung to me.
It's so bad. One more time.
One more time.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Martin. Happy birthday to you. Ho, 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 ho.
We're usually late, but we're early this time.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Go ahead, Terry.
I'd leave. When I came back in, we were voting on the site for the invasive species. I oppose that.
Oh, okay, okay.
I want it Ravalli.
Mr. Chair,
Down in the township of Ravalli. Yeah, okay.
are we in open now?
We are now.
Abby asked that we accept the annual report from MVP. So we need a motion.
Oh, geez, you're
So I'll
right,
make
Len.
that-
Len was asking if we needed to accept that as well. Motion by Len to approve the annual report from Michigan Valley Power, second by Martin. All those in favor? Unanimous,
In that grant proposal that we write, did we select that place? I thought we were submitting a grant.
what they were trying to do is identify a site that would match the time frame. So really hard to do it on any piece of land that's not already in trust, that we have total control over. So that was the issue. So the most free and clear location was the scenic turnout. Didn't specify that at all. That was just inside knowledge. So it could go the other way if some miracle happened and we were able to get the Ravalli site transferred quickly. Okay, quick break. We'll take a, sorry, folks, we just got a 5-minute break. We've been running behind. Okay, we're gonna come then after our break in Charlotte schools. So, good afternoon. Go Vikings.
Thank you for having me. My name's Steve Love. I'm the superintendent at Charlotte. And yes, go Vikings. We're on our way to Peaburg today, so hopefully the roads and everything hold out for us. Hopefully you got a copy of my report that I submitted to Tribal Ed. I don't know if you want me to just kind of go through this.
Well, however you want to do it,
Okay.
sir.
At Charlotte, we are starting to bounce back from COVID. I think you all realize how much of an impact and it's had on everybody, but with children and students, it took a huge toll on education. We feel like this year we're just starting to get our feet back on the ground. We saw, it's so hard in education. Everybody wants to measure everything with one number, and it's really not applicable. We can gauge some things with some numbers, test scores and things, but one of the things that we have really tried to get back is our attendance face-to-face with students. Students who are at school, we see success with, whether that success is determined by a GPA or more applicable is the improvement we see. So I like to think that a student that maybe went from an F to a D might have had more success than the student that stayed at the A because of the improvement. And that happens when they're at school. We also bounce back with our staffing, which was maybe a slight blessing. Because of COVID, our enrollment keeps dropping and our funding is low. But because of all the ESSER money we received, we were able to rehire a counselor that we did not have. We were able to keep a school nurse that we probably would have had to cut because of funding. And we kept our technology going, our technology coordinator position going. So, so there is some blessings in some of the things that happened because of COVID for us. The mental health is a huge issue for all schools right now. And we have a full-time counselor for the first time in 6 or 7 years. And it is paid, I can't put a number on it, it's paid big dividends. So there is some blessings in that. We still are struggling though, and it's not just Native American students, but we still have other students that are really struggling to get to school for all sorts of reasons. Mental health is a big one though, and the lack of support at home. So we're still fighting that battle. But the students that we do have attending are doing pretty well, and we're seeing improvements. So I don't know if there's any questions you guys have.
Council questions? So Jennifer, go ahead.
Yeah, is there a way that you could provide us, because you said you're seeing improvements with some data over the years, because I see here that, the math score for Native American students was 24% proficient.
I'm sorry, what I meant to say is we're starting to see some improvement this fall, which would not be reflected in these scores. Does that make sense?
Could I still see that anyway? That would be very useful.
Yeah.
And then measuring that against, when you come in next year to see what improvements were made and how it's been historically, because, I'm seeing math is well below the state average in Charlotte for Native students.
Right. And that's an area that we've always struggled with. We had a grant right before COVID to try to pinpoint that subgroup to get their math scores up. But again, some of those students too, attendance is a huge challenge. That particular subgroup, those 2 years, the attendance was not very good at all. So that has really been a challenge for us, and we've tried really hard to get the attendance back, but it's still not anywhere near where we want it to be. So, but I can definitely try to do that. We measure that type of thing with our progress monitoring during the year. But then the only actual score is what you see, like either the ACT or the Smarter Balance in the spring.
Yeah, that would be really helpful to me if, I mean, if you could at least get us like maybe the last 3 or 4 years. I'm just interested in like the
So you can, yeah,
progression of those scores. Thank you.
yeah.
Anything else from council? Well, thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. I hope all of you have a Merry Christmas.
So, like, go ahead, Jennifer.
Yeah, I have some more questions too. So how much money do you get in funding for Native American students? Like I don't know what those funding sources are called, but how much does that translate into your school?
For our Indian Ed for All, we get anywhere from 12,000 to 15,000 each year. Is that what you mean?
Was it like JOM, those kinds of funds?
The JOM money does not come to us. That goes to Tribal Ed, and then
Yeah.
they deal with that. And I think we probably qualify for under $1,000 for JOM.
Okay.
Any other items?
All right. Thank you guys. Have a great day.
Happy holidays. Lawrence. Lawrence et al. Come on, Larry. He wins. You're gonna have to walk up to the front of the room. We could ask you to stand in the corner. Oh, Lawrence, got to push a button on your mic there.
That one, the red one. Okay. Did you hear me okay? Good. I sent out digital copies, or digital information stuff? Did everyone get one? If not, I have, paper copies.
We have a presentation on our computer.
Yeah. You do?
Yep.
Okay, same like this here. Same thing. Okay, good. Oh, okay. There's even more stuff in there than I even put on there. So,
Take all the help you can get, Lawrence.
oh, what?
No, nothing.
I tell you what, I've been on tractors and phone stuff for 70 years, and now I'm just about deaf. So,
Well, welcome to the club. Yeah.
oh, okay, well, good. Anyway, the FCC requires us every year to come and meet with the tribe on the reservation to discuss mainly how we're doing, get a report card. And if there's any things that we need addressed or that the council feels they need to address with phone services and data services and internet and things like that our company provides. I'm representing Hot Springs Telephone Company. Michelle, I blanked out.
Marengo.
Marengo is representing Ronan Phone Company. I also have Cam Alvick, who's our outside plant manager for the telephone company.
I'm here as
Larry's
one of the
here.
board members of
Yep.
RCB, Ronan Telephone Company, RCTC.
Okay, and then we have Janet Brass back there in the corner. She's gonna take some notes for me, so.
And Jay Preston is on his way. I apologize, his roads are.
Oh. Okay, well, good. So, as I was saying, the FCC requires that we meet with you folks, and
right now we're, working on several projects on the hot springs area. We're getting fiber pushed out to as many residents as we can. Hopefully the entire exchange of hot springs, which goes from Nirada, up by Nirada, all the way down to Perma, through the Camas Prairie, and then all the way out across the Bitterroot and up to the reservation border to the west. So we're about 40 miles long and about 25 miles wide is the area that we cover to provide service for everyone. And oh, that'd be nice. Thank you, Jim. You're welcome, sir. You're a gentleman. Yeah. So anyway, we received funding from USF support and from some ACAM projects where funding comes from to help us build this, put this fiber out to everybody. Is very, very expensive, as you probably are aware of that. I don't even, probably even don't have to tell you how expensive it is to get into the telecommunications business. It's putting cable in the ground, putting fiber to everybody's house. You hear of tragic stories of where fiber gets cut and somebody is faced with a huge bill of fixing it, and because it's so expensive to take care of. And things like that happen all the time. Even just last week, we had some fiber in a customer's home that cat chewed through the fiber inside the house and chewed it in two. And in the old days, they could take some copper and twist it together and put some tape around it, and it usually worked. Well, they took some Scotch tape and put the fibers together, put some Scotch tape around it, but that doesn't make connectivity as good at all. So, and then so we have to go on a call to go get that fixed up. But anyway, we are trying to provide the best service we can to all the customers on the reservation. Our entire exchange in the Hot Springs area is on the reservation. We service just the Hot Springs area, and the tribal members. As you can see on some of your charts, I put out some information about the programs that we provide for Lifeline support, which is reduced phone service, and now they have the ACP support, which is helps people with their internet connectivity and providing better service for that, and at a lot cheaper cost. It's very inexpensive actually for people who qualify for those two programs to get services from us. We have to cover the 5 points that you see on the chart, which I can't see without my glasses on. So, and these things are needs assessment and deployment. You know, that they require us to ask if there's anything that we need to improve on for the services that we provide for your the tribal members here on the reservation. And it's a feasibility and sustainability, you know, the upgrades and the things we're doing to improve our services, and marketing in a culturally and sensitive manner is one of the things that they require, the FCC requires that we address. And so far we have no issues with people on our exchange. The only complaints we usually get are from people who have moved recently into the area and have services that they are not used to from other areas. But and mostly it's a cost issue because they don't realize that it costs more in a smaller area to provide services than they're used to big metropolitan areas, and they get cheaper. But as far as the services, I mean, we have so many people who tell us how happy they are with our service because they can call us one day and the next day we're out fixing their problem, or they come into our office and we address any problems that they have right there. We also provide internet, you know, training, troubleshooting with their computers. We have, 2 people in IT in our office that, can help anyone who comes in actually with a computer problem along with the phone service. And, when we started out with our build-out program, we came to the council and went to the selective departments and discussed any rights-of-way issues we might have. And we had talked to the rights-of-way departments, and they said that we have no problem. Anything that they're going to be building on our projects and stuff along, they would like to have some as-built maps when we get done, so that they know what kind of facilities they have in different areas. And then the last thing we had to cover was the compliance with tribal business and licensing requirements. And there's just, there are no licensing requirements that we have with the tribe for our company on the reservation. So, Michelle, you want to add anything?
Yeah, no, I would love to. I'm here on behalf of Access Montana, also Ronian Telephone Company. We have the same requirements that Hot Springs Telephone Company does as well, to be able to come before you annually and kind of represent what we do within our reach. Our area is a little bit bigger than the Hot Springs Telephone Company, but our focus is mainly the heart of the Mission Valley, of trying to bring services back to this area. We do have requirements outside of this area that we do have to continue to fulfill, but bringing that back here is our goal. We've looked at our next 5 to 10 year plan, and to try to identify those areas that need growth, need improvement. Some of that is being addressed with the ACAM funding that Lawrence had talked about. So it is funding that helps us serve different areas in our own ILEC area. But then we've also jumped on the bandwagon with the Connect Montana, and we are a recent recipient of that grant that will help us build. What we're looking at is from Elmo down to Polson. So we'll be building through those communities along the lake shore and along the highway, branching out from there. So I know there's a big need in those areas. That grant that we've just been awarded will help us build to those communities and serve those people. We've also been looking in our own backyard. We know that we have some improvement to do in our own service areas. So that has become a main focus for us. We are looking at building along the foothills of the missions to make sure we can improve more connectivity to those customers that we have. We will be looking at building through the Terrace Lake area on some of those roads while we continue to improve our services out west of Ronian and different areas and such like that. Jay just joined us, so hi, Jay.
I apologize for being a little late.
So those are our areas that we're more specifically looking at that will directly affect the local area, as well as tribal members and descendants, along with everybody in those areas. Our goal is to serve everybody that we pass and keep it as minimally expense-wise as possible. We also offer the same programs that Hot Springs does. So we do offer a lifeline and the ACP, which is the Affordable Connectivity Program. We help all of our customers come in the door, try to qualify for those. A lot of the times it will actually create the customer's bill and actually make it down to almost where they pay zero if they can get on both programs, which is a really big help on a month-to-month basis for all of those individuals. It is an annual renewal process they have to go through, and it is through the federal government that they apply, but we are there to help in any way possible to get them onto those programs. Those programs are growing. We would like to work on continuing to spread the word on that. So if there's any way that we can give that out to individuals or different communities, please let us know. We would love to be able to do that outreach with them. Marketing, a lot of what Lawrence said, it applies to us. We do try to market to the local areas, and it kind of hits on every aspect. Anybody that needs internet, which is pretty much everybody in today's world, we try to reach and do what we can to make sure that we have the best products delivered to those areas. Our team is, I think, a great team. We're very personable, and we're there for customer service. We are available 24/7. We do have individuals that help out at night and on the weekends. So if there's an issue with any service, they reach out and I can get those technicians pulled in to help create any or solve any problems that we have going with our service.
Well, Len had a question. Go ahead, Len.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the council, and thank you all for taking the time to visit with us today. We really appreciate it. Just one question. Do both co-ops utilize the Indian Preference Office in any of your contracts for the construction or putting this fiber in the ground?
So the grant that we were awarded, we just found out about last week. We will be reaching out and using that program in that area to be bringing in new jobs and helping build out the construction phase of everything we're doing.
Okay, so we haven't been using it in the past? Is that what you're saying?
Nope, we have used them in the past. And of course, then we reach out throughout the years as we need help
All right.
throughout that process. But yes, for the prior grants and stuff, we definitely are using that
Okay,
office.
thank you.
We haven't done any new hiring for quite a while and stuff, so, and we're doing all of our construction in-house with just the minimal crew that we have. So, if we ever did expand and got into, something, a bigger project and stuff, Indian Preference would be, utilized all throughout, yeah. Well, I was just gonna add one other thing. If we, we don't, not only do we provide just great, telephone and internet and data services and stuff, we also are a huge part of our communities. I mean, the people that we have working for us and stuff go above and beyond, to help, civically in our communities, doing projects, working with people that are having problems, not only just, in our service world, but also just supporting groups that are having families that have cancer going through their families, and need to put up some decorations for Christmas or do fundraisers for the rodeo over in Hot Springs, or whatever the communities need. The phone companies are there, I bet you, just 100% of the time. So that's a great thing for a community. Is there any questions that anyone has to throw at us about our services or needs or anything? Jennifer?
No, I don't have a question, but I just wanted to say thank you for the gifts. Thank you for your presentation and thank you so much for the gifts.
Oh, you're very welcome, Jennifer. I hope you like chocolates and nuts.
And I love Hot Springs. It's one of my favorite places, and just thank you.
Well, thank you for the compliment. Yeah, we love Hot Springs too.
Hot Springs is a step back in time, By the way, it's gonna get, 31 below and then 38 below zero is the forecast for Hot Springs, Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah, but the water's 110.
Exactly. I mean, we're talking the Camas bathhouse, Symes.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know, that's 38 below zero is something I have only felt up in British Columbia and Alaska.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to that at all. Anyway, just one question. During the pandemic, and of course, we're still kind of on the outskirts of that, everything was so important for remote learning. And so specifically, what did, Ronan Telephone or Hot Springs Telephone do to help contribute to that off-site learning with the schools, if anything? Go ahead.
Well, we'd all kind of made a pledge as internet providers that we would keep everybody connected to internet. So we did do that and extended it out past the actual national deadline by several months. So we worked with individuals that were unable to pay bills and actually took payment plans later, about 6 months after the pandemic had originally started here. So that was the first thing we did to make sure that those students stayed connected to the internet to continue to learn. And then of course the individuals that needed to work from home. We also offered free internet or free installs for internet. And then we were really pushing on these programs that came out. The ACP was one of them, to get as many of those families on that program to help pay for that. And then our teams were very busy installing. We installed almost around the clock, trying to get anybody connected wherever we could, as fast as we could. So that was a big draw on our team, but I think we did pretty well and pretty successful in trying to get as many people either upgraded or connected at home that had not had it before. And then the school themselves had reached out to us, and we worked directly with the Ronan schools specifically about what company or which families had not been connected, what we could do. We were working through them and some of the programs they had to get them connected. We also, I believe, worked through some of the tribal entities on getting some of those people connected as well, and just kind of forego the installs and even some of the payments to make sure everybody had that connection.
I had to ask that question because I want to thank you for that, because it was such a all hands on deck event, and even as much as everybody tried, you know, we still couldn't keep up with the academic learning that we were lost.
Yes.
So, but I also want to thank, you know, Ronan Telephone Hospital. You are community leaders, and I really appreciate that. And that's company's been a great company in the Ronan community and Hot Springs also. So I want to thank you, especially under your leadership, Jay. I want to thank you for that.
Well, thank you, Tom.
Despite you sitting there by Larry, I don't, you know, it's
It's
I'm not
absolutely,
that negative of a person. Come on.
it's absolutely my pleasure and privilege to sit next to Larry, actually.
me too. I like that too. Yeah. Makes me look better. You know?
Well, this meeting is a requirement put on by the FCC for our status as an eligible carrier in the National Universal Service System. And I've been coming here every year for many years, as has Lawrence. But our role on the reservation actually goes back to 1960, and I spent my entire career trying to help the tribe, help the tribal community. We worked with Lauren Peterson for many years, extending our network. We participated in the Obama stimulus program with the tribe's support of this tribe and the Blackfeet tribe. That allowed us to extend our facilities to the boundary of the reservation and beyond. But our focus is still here in the valley, even though our facilities and our customer base extends beyond the valley, and it will remain that way. So, you know, we want to make the commitment that we will continue to collaborate and to cooperate and, you know, help the tribe in any way we can.
We deeply appreciate that, Jay. And knowing your character, I expect no less. So really appreciate it. And the wonderful staff you all have. I mean, my goodness. And you hire so many members from our community. It's really a local company. So really appreciate that.
Unfortunately, we can't compete with Mission Valley Power. Several of our people that we took on for the grant graduated to MVP. So.
Yeah, you know, those union benefits and wages are pretty amazing.
Yeah, we have a history of having had those been in a monopoly market, but that's no longer the case. It's very much a competitive market now, and so we're well aware of that and you know, ready to compete.
Yeah, okay, well, thank you, Jay. Always look at Jay as the face of the Ronan community, so you know, really, Jay takes pride in his community, and as does his lovely bride and all the staff that work there. And of course, Hot Springs likewise. So I know. It's gonna be 38 below there Thursday, so yeah. I'm not gonna come over and jump in the hot water.
Speaking of hot water stuff, I would like to encourage the council to keep the hot water and bathhouse facilities in their radar so that someday, hopefully, that something could be, come about in there. It's a wonderful resource that we get to enjoy, and a lot of other people enjoy it too.
Oh, definitely. It's on our priority, Lawrence, to make sure that that's always there. We want to make sure we protect that groundwater, that hot groundwater.
Yeah.
Because it's irreplaceable.
Right.
It's has so much future potential. So definitely, we've had a couple field trips over to Hot Springs to try to look at different things that we could do. So
Good.
we're just kind of waiting for a punch list to happen, and we expect our presence in Hot Springs to go way up. So we hope so.
Well, good. That's good news. Thank you.
That's what Mike Dawson keeps hoping for too.
I got one other little soapbox issue too that I got.
Okay, Lawrence.
And Terry's always reminded me about this. We got a walking path in Hot Springs that goes halfway that the tribe assisted us in putting in, and we'd sure like to finish it and go all the rest of the way out to the highway, which is another mile. We got a mile of it built, but we need another mile. So if the council would ever have any influence on the roads department to help us get our path finished, that would be great too. Appreciate that.
We strongly support pedestrian pathways, so we'll certainly, I speak for all the council, we really think that's a critical element and an attribute that should be everywhere, as much as possible. Go ahead, Carol.
I was just gonna say, Hot Springs is a part of the reservation. And I was just wondering, is it possible to put that on the transportation, the tip?
Anything's possible from another tip, yes.
Oh, okay, because I wasn't sure if that was just for roads or if you could do paths with that.
We can add it.
And I also want to say, Mr. Walchuk, that the people keep the bathhouse on our radar. And that we're hoping that since the water compact is passed and we get all the funding in place, then hopefully that'll start to kick that off and we'll see some progress over there too. So we're hoping the same thing because the people just love the water and the healing water. So yeah, hopefully soon.
Well, that's good news too. We're also in our build out plans, in our next phase of our build out in our fiber, we're running fiber optics up into the bathhouse area up in there. We'll be covering all that area this spring and summer. So they'll have lots of connectivity up there too. So.
Any other comments for Ms. Marengo or Mr. Walchuk, Mr. Hall, or Mr. Preston? No? Okay. Thank you. Great report.
Thank you for having us.
Does the council have to do a motion and an approval?
We'll take action on your report. Motion by Martin to accept the Ronan Telephone Hot Springs cell phone report. Second by Mike. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous. Lumlet, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Happy holidays, everybody.
You too.
Merry Christmas.
Stay warm.
Yes, you too.
Yeah, good. Ellie?
Just a brief announcement for council. A notice went out from Mancusom that they did cancel school tomorrow and Thursday, so their events planned for Thursday, the play and the breakfast or dinner, will be rescheduled after the holidays in January sometime.
Okay. Thanks, Ellie. Jennifer?
And I forgot to let you guys know it's his birthday tomorrow as well.
Oh, yeah. We got cake in here, Jim. Did you already get some? Did you already get some? All right, let's sing happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jim. Happy birthday to you. All right, my younger brother. Get better looking every year. You and Walchuk, I tell you, you guys are just getting. You are dyeing your hair, aren't you?
Don't mind
Come on. Cover up that dye job with that hat. Come on. I know, you must be, yeah. Poster child for the good life. All right. Cake. We need to have some cake.
Yeah, you guys are on a break until
Break.
they show up.
Okay. Cake. I already grabbed a muffin or a cupcake. Wanted to have one of those. Cake. Cake in the other room. You didn't even eat your lunch. It's right there.
Yeah, Jennifer had to remind me, Mr. Chairman, otherwise I'd have forgot.
Okay, Jen? We got them all? No?
They said that they were gonna try and drive here. I've been in contact with them, but they're not replying back. No, Jordan's just listening to this portion because they wanted to do the legislative stuff. So he was here to listen and be involved in it. They're on their way, but I could get the executive portion on, try and get them on right now if you want me to.
Wow, just in time, we were about ready to adjourn. No, just joking. Just joking. Really? Yeah, you guys kind of like sledded into the parking lot, did you? Thank you. I'll take a gigantic size. Bing would be large. Melissa, Bing's not here. He's had knee surgery, but he'd be large. Which one? Oh, Annie, okay. Well, all right, we'll come back into our session after our break. And thank you for the goodies. Wow. Ho, ho, ho.
Can you go? Oh, there we go. So should we get started? Okay.
Yeah, please do.
Hessel Holt Pasiot, Alyssa Kelly, Louis Quest, Chilkat Kumsinu, Chiskelu, Lemlum Shay Weechinson, Kas Lemdi Luichin, Chaupin Yaswaskut, Kas Hui in Sai, to Hulia Yedla, Samem, Chinesamem, ACLU Montana, S in school, Chines Indigenous Justice Organizer. Hello, everybody. My name is Alyssa Kelly. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the Indigenous Justice Organizer with the ACLU Montana. And we are here today to meet with you all about a few different topics that we feel we could work together on. But before we get started on that, I would like my colleagues to introduce themselves to you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sharon Kicking Woman. My pronouns are she, her, hers. My parents are Kevin and Joni Kicking Woman. I'm both Blackfeet and Grovant. Really honored to be here today and be before you all. So thank you for your time and welcoming us into this space. I'm the Organizing Associate Director for the ACLU of Montana, and we'll talk about our Indigenous Justice program specifically and into a bunch of different topics, but really thankful for your time today.
Welcome, Sharon.
Hinsha Stongo. My name is Keegan Madrano. I'm the Policy Director at the ACLU of Montana. I'm Muskogee Creek. So my traditional homelands are the areas now known as Georgia and Alabama, reservation homelands in eastern Oklahoma. And as my colleagues have shared, we're grateful to be here in front of you all today. And also, I think grateful, Alyssa, for you and thankful for you for coming into this new role at our organization. And I think you're already making a sort of indelible mark on our work. And I'm really hopeful about the work that our organization, our expertise, our amazing people that we hopefully can bring to the fore to you all in a long-term, authentic and caring way. as we think about the upcoming 2023 legislative session and also beyond that. And so as the sort of new-ish director at the organization, it's part of my desire, goal, drive to ensure that our organization engages with CSKT and as well as the other tribal nations in Montana in ways where we can, when appropriate, empower, embolden, and protect tribal sovereignty and tribal nations.
Welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. So I guess, you know, just to introduce ourselves and our organization, the ACLU Montana is a civil rights organization. It's a national organization which is comprised of affiliates across the nation, so individual state affiliates that determine their work that they're going to do in the state, and it's a very state-focused sort of work, but also focused on civil rights in different areas. For the ACLU Montana, our top two priority areas are Indigenous justice and criminal legal reform. And so we're a part of the advocacy and policy department. And so all of our work is really focused on furthering rights in different realms of like the legislative session, which is our current focus. And so we want to visit all of the tribal nations and build relationships here so that our work can reflect the values and also the intentions of the tribes as we move forward. Montana is the only ACLU affiliate that has Indigenous justice in its programmatic work. So it's, you know, we're kind of leading that charge nationally. On a national level, all of the Indigenous staff with the ACLU meet on a regular basis and work collectively. So they're from all across the nation that we all work together. So we're trying to build a home for Indigenous justice work within the national. We just had our first Indigenous justice convening where we were able to talk to directors across the nation and everything and introduce them to why Indigenous justice is so critical and why they should be working to further the rights of tribes. And so with that, this is the first reservation that we're visiting, but not the last. And this is our first visit here, but not the last. I just started as the Indigenous justice organizer, and so we're thinking of how we can get organized. And so we're going to start with Sharon. She's going to be discussing the Indigenous justice work and program, and I'll be filling in a little bit here.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Alyssa. So like Alyssa talked about the structure of the ACLUs generally and nationally, each state has one, and identified our priorities. We adopted formally an Indigenous justice specific priority, right? A top priority that guides our work. There's a framework to how we view anything that comes across our desk. Within our own affiliate, we're actually a small but mighty team. We're located in Missoula. There's about, at any given time, anywhere from about 12 to 16 employees. And so we're all in the same department. We also have other folks who are on our lobbying team who we wish could be here, but you'll definitely see them in the future. And same with our legal team. We have a small but mighty legal team who I know has worked closely with the tribe and is doing a few cases. But when we think about, oh, thank you. Thank you. Our Indigenous justice focus, we want to make sure that Native people, Indigenous people are at the forefront of those conversations. So that means our staff, making sure that we're reflecting that in what we're doing and building authentic and, you know, collaborative relationships. And so that is our hope, and our hope to hit the road and to meet people in person and make connections and open that door. You know, the ACLU is a civil liberties organization, but isn't one that is historically something you think of being, it's not the first, you know, org you think of when you need help, or especially in Indian country. So I am born and raised in these parts, and when I came home to work for the ACLU, 9 out of 10 people in my family said, "What the heck is the ACLU?" And so with our focus in Indigenous justice specifically, we're trying to change that folks see us as a place they can come to as a resource, not just for community members, but for tribes as a whole. And that's really our goal here, and just like opening that door and honoring that relationship. And especially with having Alyssa come on as our organizer, deepening that with CSKT as our neighbors, being good allies, and really taking the lead from tribes and in protecting sovereignty and all of the above. So our IJ program is something that is being led in a lot of ways from Montana. Other states, you know, and their ACLU affiliates are following suit and doing really amazing work. Specifically, we hope to, you know, our mission, our vision, our guiding principles is to enhance sovereignty of tribes, of community members, of families. And that looks, of course, different wherever you go. That for us, it's taken a lot of different shapes. So in your bags, you'll see we passed out the report. That's an education equity report. One of our big main buckets of work is actually in the education system and thinking about how do we improve outcomes for Indigenous students in Montana's public schools. We know from that report that specifically deals with school discipline. We know that if you know, input culture into the curriculum, if you use restorative justice models, if students know their rights and have access to an equitable education, that outcomes improve. And so that's one of the things that we work directly in schools to try to think about how we can incorporate a lot of those solutions. So it depends on the level we're thinking, you know, looking at, but we work in the legislature, right, to implement some of these bills to protect sovereignty. That's what Keegan's going to talk about in a second, about what the heck is going on in the legislature and how we're preparing for that. But education equity is a big bucket. Of course, we work on other issues such as environmental justice, the issues of murdered and missing Indigenous women and our relatives. And so it's looked a lot of different ways. The shirts that you got are actually our voting campaign. So that is the loosely translated word for vote in all the Indigenous languages here in Montana. So we've been in the election space. So we work, you know, for securing voting rights. And then of course we have our landmark lawsuit, which is the Indian Education for All lawsuit, where we're hoping to hold the state accountable towards properly implementing IAFA. So that is just very top line of what our IJ program does and hopes to do. But I think my greatest message is that we want the doors to be open and really to think of us as people you can come to, and the reverse, that we want it to be something that's collaborative, reciprocal, and really live those values.
Can I just add on real quick? Okay. And I just wanted to add on just to kind of give you guys an idea of some of the work that we've done with Indigenous justice, with our legislation, the Indian Education for All case that she's talking about. Currently in the state, there are no measures that people have to follow. There's no reporting process for Indian Education for All funds or the criteria for the curriculum that's being taught or anything like that. So we're challenging the state to implement a reporting process and accountability for those funds, and also accountability for the curriculum that our students are learning. And so it's part of our state constitution. So protecting those rights, you know, helps everybody, because Indian education is for all with that mandate. And so we have to make sure it's being done properly. The other thing with the voting rights case, the state has continually been making attacks on the Indian vote through different, you know, ways of the polling access and same day registration. And so we challenged and won twice now, right? Twice now to protect the Indian vote here in the state. And so the ACLU uses litigation and then also policy to accomplish the change that we like to make.
And I think in my role, what it's been about is sort of channeling the care, the vision, the authenticity with which they both engage in their work. And one thing that has been a driving influence of my work is ensuring that we're doing community organizing. We're actually working with community members so that it's not just a policy think tank, or it's not just a bunch of lawyers litigating, but that we're actually guided and informed by the experiences of people who are just living their day-to-day lives. As Sharon alluded to, we are of course preparing for the 2023 session. In my role, I need to ensure the implementation of all of our lobbying. And so Alyssa highlighted the two issues that we work on, Indigenous justice and criminal legal reform. We also respond to 12 other issue areas, from voting to repro to free speech. Literally every issue you could imagine we're responding to in the session. As some of you are, I'm sure, know, we know that there are at least 4,200 bill drafts that have been introduced. And so we have identified at least 50 bills drafts right now, which fall within our Indigenous justice understanding. And so this ranges from education to MMIW to water to gambling. And PL 280. And so there are a series of bill drafts that we're tracking. And I think part of our desire in coming here today is to begin this relationship, to begin and signal our commitment, but also talk about the real and immediate threats to us as Indigenous people, to us as an Indigenous community, and specifically to you all and all the people you represent.
And I guess that's a little silence for some questions or a little processing maybe. That was a lot we threw at you. You guys are in your 2 o'clock here. The 2 o'clock nap time.
I'm still absorbing that sugar-rich cake that Mr. Steele cooked that I had.
Oh. Oh, you made a cake today? Was not aware of Mr. Steele's baking capabilities.
Well, he claimed he cooked it. Any questions or comments? Yeah, go ahead, Terry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So how are you funded? How do you continue to survive?
Yeah, we're a nonprofit organization and we're funded off C3 and C4 funding. So I actually came from development department, so I was in fundraising. We get a lot of our donations from private donors, individuals throughout the state. And so that kind of allows us the freedom to tackle the issues, you know, of our choosing. And so, yeah, it's like a really good funded process where we don't have to rely on like grants or things like that. So there's nothing dictating the work. And then also being connected to the national organization, any funding that we fundraise from our affiliate or any affiliate all goes into one bucket, and then they also disperse an annual funding that route too. So we have, although we have a small but mighty team, we also are able to lean on a national organization that kind of helps us with things too. So we're fortunate.
Go ahead, Lynn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the council, and I want to thank you all for taking the time to visit with us today. You've shown that you are a very vital resource for the tribes, and I support your efforts on trying to engage the tribes. And at some point in time, I just wanted to let you know that the Rocky Mountain Tribal Leaders meet quarterly. And so I really want to encourage you to get on their agenda and do a presentation, you know, because that's a time when all of the Montana tribes get together. And you can then display your the work that the ACLU does. But I think it's really important that we get out there, especially when we're getting closer to the legislative session, because I could see right now that you guys are going to be utilized. You will be utilized. So once again, thank you for being here today.
Hey, Carol.
Yeah, do you have any ongoing litigation now with Native American issues, students?
Oh, with students, we haven't taken on any like individual cases for any like individual students right now. Because we have such a small team, we typically select cases that are going to have like the biggest hit for everybody across the nation kind of thing. So we really like to focus on something that's going to change policy statewide. And so like with Indian Education for All, which is our current big case for education, changing that process is going to have an impact across all of the state. And so we haven't yet, but we do that kind of work if it will have a bigger impact.
Well, that case it's a class action suit, so there's individual plaintiffs and then of course the tribes, who are a part of that, which I believe CSKT is a part of.
Yep.
So I don't think the students are technically plaintiffs, but their parents are as part of that case.
That's what I meant.
Yep.
The tribes have used ACLU before, and I was trying to think on voting rights, I think on, maybe there was a school issue in Ronan, I think that they were involved in. But also, I'm really glad about the reporting, because unless we know what the outcomes, we don't know where we stand with the Montana Constitution and the wording there. Education for all. And so I'm glad that you're on top of that, but I really appreciate you coming in, like Len said, and letting us know what's available to us. And, we have issues come up periodically that we would probably give you a call and ask you to take a look at, because, I mean, like the jail, the Lake County Jail, I know is something that's going through, I believe, litigation right now, and I don't know if you're involved in that, but that's nasty. And until the council finally took a tour, and maybe prior councils did, but I don't remember ever going, but we finally took one, and I think I was just blown away on how bad it was. And I was saddened, really saddened, that the majority of the people are our people that are serving in there, and it's tough. Even the county commissioners say it's tough.
Yeah. No, and oh, thank you for that, Carol. Yeah, and our attorneys have done a lot of work with prison conditions and different things in the past, and so we're trying to figure out how to meet the needs of the state and how we can, but I definitely think, I've been telling these guys about that jail since I started. They're like, you're in development, why are you telling us about all this? But yeah, there's common issues that with CSKT being a leader, in Indian country, it's like I told these guys, a lot of what gets done here has an impact on other tribes and helps other tribes too. So, but I was gonna say also, we forgot to mention the Brackeen case.
Yeah.
So that's another case that ACLU Montana signed on with, is the Brackeen versus Deb Holland. And so that's the ICWA. Did you guys hear about?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we're a part of that too. And that's also another benefit of being with the national, is we can contribute where we're at too.
So if you get an envelope in the mail, please contribute. I just did.
I'll be sending a follow-up with, no.
Well, and I'm like, how far in the weeds do we get? So
Yeah.
one of the things that I'll be taking on in the upcoming legislature, which starts in, I don't know, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
My little countdown is just ticking. So Keegan will be covering our Indigenous justice issues, and I will cover a portion of my time, so not all my time will be spent in Helena, but one bill that I'm specifically working on is the state ICWA, so the Montana's version of ICWA. And I know that the Indian law section of the Montana Bar has really taken that on in drafting that legislation and strengthening that legislation and getting the input of the tribes. So we were able to attend a listening session with RMTLC to present that bill and to seek support from all of the tribes. So there's, the current efforts to get resolutions of support for that particular bill from both RMTLC and individual tribes, but really having a unified voice about protecting our children and, protecting our sovereignty and all the implications, of course, that come along with the Brackeen case, but making sure that we have those protections here, that they stand here in Montana. And that's something, I'm passionate about, and that's an organizational priority of the ACLU, is to work on a state ICWA and lobby to get that passed in the upcoming session. So I wanted to flag that as one of the bills and a number of things we're working on. And then maybe Keegan, you can jump in on the many others.
Yeah, and I think, as Sharon noted, I want to be mindful of how far in the weeds we get into. I think, one bill draft that is on my sort of docket for consideration is a bill which would shift the water compacting approval process to the Public Services Commission. And the reason why I want to flag that is, it was introduced by Representative Reed, the latest, in the 2022 election, Annie Bukasik was elected to the PSC. She has mentioned a desire to overturn the CSKT water compact, utilizing her role she was campaigning to be elected to the PSC on that as part of her platform. And so I think that is one bill draft that we're wary of. We're seeing this sort of like multi-pronged effort to take over PSC and also use the legislature to enable PSC to call into question the CSKT water compact. I think that's one that is very much on my radar. I think another bill draft is around state funding and PL 280, and of course, Lake County Commissioners has made their recent call around PL 280. And so I think that's another area where we're wary of, the near 60-year battle that the CSKT tribal nation has engaged in when it comes to Public Law 280, the intrusion of state jurisdiction, and what that means for tribal nations and tribal sovereignty. So those are two specific ones. Again, there are a series of bills around compacting that I'm happy to talk about, whether it's state tribal colleges, but also schools, public schools. And then I think one other thing I want to flag before I'll pause is that we categorize our bills into Indigenous justice so that we're tracking these things like water, like definitions of bison, like property tax, those sorts of issues where we're seeing the legislature attack tribal nations through that, use those as vehicles. But then we're also applying a lens to every other issue that we're working on. So whether it's criminal legal reform or voting, we're always sort of utilizing the perspective of how does this disproportionately impact Indigenous folks? How does this potentially an effort to challenge tribal nations and their inherent sovereignty?
Go ahead, Carol.
I think that with that being said, I think always remember that this tribe has their own lobbyists. And please, whatever you do is consult with them or consult with us. Our door's always open to make sure that your position and our position aren't, feuding against each other. And I wanted to say one other thing, Alyssa, you said that this tribe is in the forefront of a lot of different things, but I wanted to say with 280 and the discussions around that, one of my brilliant colleagues talked about today is setting up a program that would help our people rather than incarcerate them. So this really gives us an opportunity to think outside of the box and do something rather than just watching, week after week, people heading down to Deer Lodge, so we have an opportunity and we should take advantage of it, but it all costs money, of course, but it's about, bottom line is our people and how they're treated.
Yep. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, criminal legal reform is a key priority for ACLU Montana. And as we know, Indigenous people are disproportionately represented in the incarceration system, specifically here in Flathead, even more so than other tribes, which is crazy because we have a lower population than other tribes. There's a couple of things I was going to add on to with what you're saying, but I'll have to think more about it. Sorry.
We wanted to confirm the lobbyist for the tribe. Is it Jordan Thompson? Mark Baker, gotcha.
Jordan is the lead in our executive team for our lobbying efforts, both statewide and regionally, and back in DC.
Nice.
Okay.
Oh, great.
If I could though, you can certainly always contact me for any questions or anything like that. But yeah, like they said, Mark Baker's our hell in a contact now. So good to see everybody.
Yeah.
Good to see you too. What was I going to say? There was like two pieces I was going to add on to both of what you guys said. Dang it, sorry guys. I was gonna say too, like we collaborate with different organizations to get our work done. So obviously like a team of 15 can't cover the whole state by itself. We work frequently with like, who do we all work with?
Well, our legal team specifically will work with NARF in a lot of cases. But we hope to,
you know, in line with building relationships with tribal nations, but with other partners. So I think of like Montana Women Vote, Forward Montana, the
Planned
Montana
Parenthood.
Budget and Policy Center, but just really like kind of creating that network. So, you know, like we're in it together and we're able to fight these fights, not just alone.
And one thing we're looking to call is a coalition of organizations and activists and advocates for the 2023 session. And I think part of our desire again was to share just our work generally to begin this relationship, but also to identify those bill drafts and those bills that we're concerned about as an organization, but also signal that we're looking to helm a coalition for the 2023 session with some of the partners that both Alyssa and Sharon have noted, as well as individual activists and advocates. And so we're really looking forward to, and I think that was part of our desire too, again, when we're thinking about the session, connecting with Jordan Thompson and Mark Baker to ensure that either they have a seat at that table to consult with us, and or we're ensuring that that coalition space is consulting with Mark Baker and Jordan Thompson for that work.
Yeah, and that's what we were hoping to get clarity on before the session starts is like, you know, if there's a stance that would be helpful for CSKT in this, for us to take and support, or whether it's even stepping back and, you know, not engaging. We just seen that, you know, oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. This legislative session is unique in the fact that it's gonna be a super majority with Republicans. This is like the most bills that have been introduced. So they're really ready to go in, you know, this session, and we're having to be equally ready to respond. And we just like, you know, wanted clarity and see if there's any place we could be of help, or even if that is stepping back or whatever it is. We just want to have clarity so as we move forward, because like Keegan said, we're going to be working with Native organizers who are going to help out in the session. Oh yeah, and my piece to the legislative session is going to be trying to get more Indigenous people involved. I don't think a lot of people realize how much state issues impact Indigenous communities. And so for me, I'm going to be training people on how to testify, you know, maybe providing rides up, but they are going to allow Zoom testimony for this session, so that's good. And also just making sure like all of the tribal leaders are educated on what you know, what bills are coming up this week, how could you get involved, sort of a thing. And you know, we just really want to see more Indigenous presence in that space, especially with, you know, the current climate of things there. Jordan, did you have something to say? I seen you came off the camera here.
Yeah, when I appear, you know, if it's okay, Mr. Chairman. I was just going to say, it's really exciting to hear the energy you guys are bringing to Chambers. And sorry I can't be there today, but yeah, I'm just, the session's going to be a wild one. And I think it would be really helpful for me to have like maybe a meeting next week with you all, and we can just kind of visit about some of these things you're talking to more in depth. But I certainly take my direction from council. But yeah, it's just fun to see you guys and know you're going to be a presence in Helena this session. So good to see you all.
Yeah, definitely.
Indeed, Jordan will be your course filter, and then Jordan can finally filter it with us. But you know, I will say this, in me personally, anything that's a change to the Montana state constitution is assault on us and the people of Montana. So please look for any of those changes also, besides anything that has to do with our treaty rights or indigenous native causes that we might have. Yeah. It's going to be a real difficult year, this next period, the next 3 months of the new year. It could be very challenging. So there are really common sense, good Republicans out there. They're practical. So it's finding those folks and bringing them over to the Dem side and point of reason. So if there's enough voices and enough people talking to them, I have a lot of confidence in our state and our people. They'll do the right thing, hopefully. Martin?
We'll be having our legislative reception the 19th of February or January. So if you guys want to attend, contact Jordan about all the details. It's at a country club there in Helena. I forgot the name. I apologize. But more than welcome to attend and get to know the legislators.
Yeah, anything we could do to build the teamwork to make the dream work. What we're trying to do. We're also going to be hosting, different rallies up there just to call attention specifically to the Montana ICWA suits and things. So yeah, it'll be good.
Super, wow. Sure glad you guys are in Missoula. too.
And how about
That
you,
helps.
Sheriff?
Dan, do you have anything to offer?
I'm like, come join the party.
Anything else? Anybody? Yeah, go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to say, to you, I'm getting older in my life, and it's good for me from the heart to see young indigenous people taking on this kind of task, going where you're going for your own people. It does me good, the issues you're talking about, one of the ones is protecting our children. It's a real issue with me, and also sovereignty. Sovereignty, the way it is today. I mean, I think about sovereignty back in a long time ago. If I was to practice that, I'd need our lawyer back there. But it just does my heart good to see you guys doing this and the reasons you're doing it. Love that to you.
Ditto that. Melissa, Sharon, Egan, thank you so much for coming in today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you all for listening to us and meeting with us, and we look forward to working with the community in the future. We just met with the language apprentices in Mission on our drive up, and so it was just really nice to be reaffirmed that education equity is a key, to the futures of our children and something that we're committed to protecting, and along with all of the other issues. But working with tribes is, the top priority right now, and so thank you guys for taking time, a holiday week to meet with us. It was kind of short notice, but we had to get this done before the legislature because Keegan's going to be in Helena starting soon. So, but we're going to be gifting all of the tribes that we visit an 8th generation blanket. And so from the ACLU Montana, and we just wanted to present that to you all today. I don't know.
Thank you.
Can hang it up.
I think I would just, this is the first of many, and we want to be good neighbors and allies and all of the things. And these are the communities that we come from. And so we care really deeply just as well. And we want to honor that relationship and gift the council the blankets. I mean, I don't know who's the appropriate person to take it. I wish we could all.
Carol volunteered closest. We want to thank you for making us your first stop. We always expect to be first. So, Melissa, thank you. Wow, that's gorgeous. Wow. That's beautiful. Yeah. Go ahead, Lynn. Go out there. Wow. Carol volunteered. Carol, that's going to look good on you. Gorgeous. Now, I expect ours to be the prettiest. Lemlems.
Yeah.
That is so nice of you. I can't.
The native, it's the alternative, anti-Hamilton. Their slogan is,
Inspired native, not native inspired.
Yeah.
Oh.
And fun fact, I found out that Louis Gong, the founder, is actually my relation on my Kelly side, on my coastal Salish side. So didn't know that either. So now I'm like, cousin. No, I'm joking.
Cousin discount.
We need a blanket. Yeah.
Cool.
We're just so happy to meet everybody today and to even just be here. You know, we were kind of scared. We're getting all these weather reports and it was nice on the show. So
It's nice now. It's gonna be start get ugly tomorrow afternoon.
yeah, that's what I heard. Everybody was sending pics and and prayers. So we're here. We saw like 3 eagles on our drive up, so we felt good about the travel and the
Good
journey.
sign.
We knew we were
Yeah.
doing the right things. So
Cool. Well, drive safe as you go around. Where are you going next?
tribal education, maybe.
Well, we were ready for the Browning Ronan face-off.
Oh, yeah, Brownie whipped out on us. Yeah.
There's tenfold.
You're
We
both
might,
double.
yeah, we might have to just skate back and hope to beat the negative 60 degrees that's about to come down on everyone, so.
We did get to see Old Timers Cafe. I showed them Old Timers. So I'm just like pointing stuff out. I'm like, see that tree?
And then we'll be heading over to the Trouble Center for a food donation as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've seen that there was a call for donations at the Ronan Center. So we're going to stop through there and drop off some donations on our way. So, and hopefully meet there. And me and Sharon's cards are still being processed. We're so new to our new positions right now that we don't have any to give out today, but I will send to Jen all of our contact information. And just please feel free to contact us, you know, anytime. Even, you know, I'm hoping to get a newsletter on a regular basis that we could update tribal leaders throughout the legislative session to kind of know where things are and where we're at. So, yeah, I caused a stir on Facebook asking about the the contact information, but I found all of your guys' emails somewhere. So I had to use my journalism skills to find all you. So if you get a weird email, it's me. No.
Cool.
All right. Well, thanks. Lem lunch.
Yeah. Drive safe.
Careful out there.
Watch out for that wind chill.
You guys ready to go to executive?
Yeah. Oh, wait, Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had kind of an issue that came up today. The email that came out about pay scale, overpaying people or whatever. I just hope that our accounting or whoever's gonna take that money back will do it in a way that doesn't hurt these employees, because I think some of them may have already spent some of this money. And you know, one guy, the person that emailed me today was, you know, really excited because he thought it was retro pay for, you know, whatever the last few months or something. And so I just told him I'd bring it up today. You know, maybe allow them to do payroll deduction over a long course of time, or, you know, whatever, because especially this time of year, it's gonna really, not everybody looks at their check stubs and realize it's an overpayment. And so I hope that the people calling them as well are being a little bit compassionate about this and not being, because that's our mistake. You know, we're the ones that screwed this up. And, you know, I hate to do this to people in the holiday season. And, you know, this guy's got a kid going to college next year, another one in high school. And it's not a good situation at all that we created. And so I hope that it's something that we can just make right somehow. I'm not sure how, but, you know, it's definitely not just pull all the money out of their accounts or something. I'm not sure how they're gonna go about recovering that. The email that Jenny sent, I didn't, I'm not sure, so. Yeah, I have no idea. And then the other thing with that too is that there are people, some people that got a pay scale raise in a department, and people that are doing the exact same jobs didn't get the pay, the bump. And so there's creating this inequity within departments where people are getting paid $2 an hour more than the other person, and this person just started 6 months ago. And these people have been here for years and not getting that bump. And so it's, we gotta, I don't know, we gotta do better, I guess. I mean, that's all I can say. Thank you.
Thanks, Martin. We can ask Greg about how they're doing that financially. Yeah, we'll move into executive.